So that's why you were throwing
And wait,
lesbian
wait, wait. I
parties,
gotta have a
right?
clean. I've gotta have clean. I gotta have clean audio. You gotta let me. And we are live with another episode of the Acolyte tonight. It's the Acolyte After Show, where we do a show after the Acolyte show. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and we also got co-host.
Ms. Marauder, it's me. Hello.
We're here to
I gotta
talk.
work on that. Gotta work on it.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna go into like a little Mario kind of.
Oh yeah, it's a me.
It's me, Miss Marauder. We're here to talk about episode 4, which I guess was called Day. And I don't know how they're titling these episodes, but episode 4 of The Acolyte is called Day. And we're here to talk about the episode with our special guest for today, Justin Jordan, aka Freddie's roommate. Justin, what's up, man?
Hello, how are you? And I just want to say for the record that even though me and Sith Lord have never been in the same room together, that is merely a coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my things, I have my theories, which we'll definitely get into. Justin, how have you
Hi.
well, no, I'm not even going to get into that. If you're watching us live, you're watching on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show, youtube.com/The Keeg Show, or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. Like, follow, comment, subscribe. Let us know you're out there and you're participating. Now, Justin, how have you been feeling about The Acolyte before this episode? This is episode 4, so episodes 1, 2, and 3. How have you been generally feeling?
It's good. Like so far, honestly, so good. Is it bad? No.
No.
Has it gripped me yet? No. But a solid show. All the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. There isn't much to complain about the first couple times, except a few bits of like characterization. But other than that, I think the show is giving us a lot to chew on, especially with like how we view Sith and Jedi and all that stuff. But I'm enjoying it so far. What about you guys?
Sarah, you want to go?
I've not been loving it, but I am also finding that the complaints that I have about it are very like English teacher complaints. I'm very, and it's hard to critique it because so many people are critiquing it in an obnoxious way, and the default to seeing anyone say they don't love it is to be like, aggressively positive. But I did not love last episode. I liked this episode okay, but then when it ended, I got mad. It's the shortest episode, and then when it ended, I'm like, we could have had 10 more minutes. Please give me 10 more minutes of this episode.
My quick opinion about this whole thing is I love the circumventing the genre that is. This is not space opera Star Wars. This is and I like it when Star Wars plays new genres. I like Rogue One a lot, and contrary to popular belief, I do like Solo. I like it when they're trying new things. I love Andor. Andor is my favorite. And so like I love the Jedi and everything, but trying new genres, I can applaud Star Wars for trying new things. But I do have to agree with my friend Matt, who not only is my friend, but he also did a YouTube comment saying he wishes these episodes were one episode that was 2.5 hours long, aka a movie. And I think that Matt, and I don't want to speak for Matt, but if Matt was here on the show, he would say he misses Star Wars movies. And I can do either movies or TV, but if it's a TV show, it better be a TV show. So Andor was a TV show. This series seems like it's a movie split into chunks.
Interesting.
That's how I felt definitely during this episode. I felt as a standalone episode, it did not give me very much. It was kind of like treading water to get to the next thing, which is going to be the fight with the Sith, whose identity is definitely a huge mystery still. And I definitely felt like it, which is weird because every single other TV show for the past like 2 years, my main thing has been, why is it so short? Uh, you can't tell the story you want to tell in 8 episodes, but this one I feel like they could tell the story in 6 episodes.
A
Like
movie.
this, yeah, it's definitely. I feel like this is a movie. Uh,
Yeah.
which brings up, I think we talked about last time, like the binge drop versus the week to week. If we were able to watch this all in one sitting, would it be more enjoyable? I think possibly, but
What-
again, we won't know until the end.
Here's a question for you guys: if any Star Wars movie, if any of the 9 Star Wars movies could be split into chunks and watched as like a pseudo series, which one would it be? Which
Oh, that's
one?
easy.
What?
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't they do that? Isn't that
Yeah, exactly.
What?
And they agreed with me. Attack of the Clones.
Didn't they do that? They split them up
Exactly.
into episodes.
Well,
They
with Clo-
did
with
the
Clone
Clone
Wars.
Wars.
No, I'm not talking about Clone Wars. I'm saying like you took literally the movie that is Attack of the Clones and you split them into half-hour chunks.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that would be your
Honestly,
your pick?
I
Yes,
think
100%.
As someone that has attempted to watch Empire Strikes Back with a 4-year-old at the time, Empire Strikes Back could definitely be a TV show because they're on Hoth a lot longer than you think they are. They're on Hoth for like
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Okay, so that's like the
Like
first
there's
episode.
the Hoth arc, the Cloud City arc, the Dagobah arc. Like there's definitely, you could split that up into a TV show for sure. I think.
Interesting.
Not New Hope. New Hope, you need to keep barreling through.
I think so.
Yeah. So okay, that's interesting. I definitely think this story could have just been a movie, and it could have been a really cool movie. I do have to say, weirdly enough, this was my favorite episode, but then it also it was gearing up to be like I wrote at the bottom of my notes, finally, and then it ended, and I was like, no, no, it culminated into exactly what I wanted for the show, and then it ended, and I was like,
Every episode I write my copious notes in my notebook, which we're about to hit a milestone because this notebook is almost done from all the after shows I've done and all the notes I've taken.
You have done a lot, yeah.
Which I think is delightful. And the first episode, my note that kept coming up is, are the Jedi dumb? And then episode 3, the note that kept coming up is, I think I hate OSHA. And then this episode, the note that kept coming up is, duh. I wrote huh and duh a lot.
You hate OSHA?
I hate. So, Justin, my daughter is 7.
Yes.
She is the light of my life. She's amazing. But the thing that she does that frustrates me the most is she whines. So, like, instead of, hey, mom, can I have a snack? It's, I'm hungry. And episode 3, the entire time, OSHA's like, I don't want to be a witch. I just want the Force. May, what are you doing? Like, the delivery of the lines were in that tone that's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. And that kind of bled into this episode for me when OSHA was like, May's the Jedi's problem now. And I was like, ugh, what? Gross. Like, there was a real, like, my attitude about how, like, whiny she was in episode 3 really kind of bled into, I mean, I know it's been 16 years, but yeah, there was a lot of, like I definitely cooled on OSHA. I was like team after episode 3, I was like, I think I'm on team May. Genuinely. Like,
interesting.
I know that she's a kind of a little psycho being called to the dark side, but like I like her a lot more. She's like loyal to her family and her coven, and like OSHA genuinely just was like, I saw this lightsaber and now I want to leave forever. Like,
so
I think it's also nice. It's nice that we now, because of the twist of episode 1 or whatever, that there's two of them, that we can like Amanda Stenberg, and still hate one of her characters, but we have one to like. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not like, what were you gonna say, Justin?
So, I guess two questions for you guys, because I do think that the Acolyte is I think its purpose is to not purpose, but its message includes making the Jedi look bad. And it's hard because that's been the dominant narrative for almost 20 years now. I don't think we've ever seen a successful good Jedi ever.
I think
And that might be the point, but but
I
also
I wouldn't be
is
surprised
the,
if
How dare you say that about the love of my life, Kanan Jarrus?
he
oh, you're saying the
failed
individual Jedi, or you're saying a Jedi order
The
that is successful?
both. But here's the thing though, like I also think that number two, because of the writers wanting us to wanting us to feel antagonistic, those moments where Osha like goes, ooh, pretty saber, I want to be the Jedi now, are supposed to rub us the wrong way. You know what I mean? And this in the same way that like the Jedi just reaching for their lightsaber all the time is also supposed to make us icky because of the climate that we live in currently. I think Star Wars is not made in a vacuum. You know, like George Lucas said himself, he's pulled from various wars of his time.
Yeah.
So I do think that our lack of trust of institutions, governments, or systems of power is bleeding into the Acolyte, you know, and I think that's so if you're feeling that, maybe we haven't seen the whole series yet. So sorry, we don't know. But what do you
Yeah,
guys think?
I totally agree, and I really I really liked Yord in this episode, a sentence I didn't think I would say, but the way that you kind of see, you know, he's kind of a tool, right? And you're like, okay, he's steaming his robe, like all that kind of stuff, you know, trying to be the proper Jedi. And then he has that one-on-one conversation with Osha where I don't know if I wrote down what he said, but like uh he was very like kind of supportive of her, right? Saying, oh yeah, he said, maybe Soul brought you here to face yourself, right? Like you kind of when he's talking to her, like he calls her civilian at first, you know, like you got to give that blaster back. You're just a civilian here. But then when he has a more one-on-one conversation with her, you can kind of see the person he is underneath. That's like, okay, I have to kind of, you know, puff my chest out and pretend to be a Jedi because I like just made Jedi Knight, right? But who he is underneath started to show in that. And I was like, I feel like there's definitely layers to his character, uh, which is a good thing. I thought this was a very good episode for him. I'm not officially part of the Yord Horde, but I did like him a little bit more in this episode.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I will say this because I recently had a video get a lot of views about Yord or if that features Yord in it. I think this episode proved my fucking point because there's a shot where we get a close up of his head and his little locks just like flopping weirdly in the wind. It's like, man, get this man to a barber. What the fuck?
What's your point?
dude,
That you just don't like his haircut?
Every time you try to start like a discourse on the internet, I'm always like, no. I can see the comments rolling in.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I love Yord. I think he's one of the most interesting Jedi we've seen in a long time. I truly do think that.
Oh.
What? What was
Well,
that
I mean, I
for?
just don't. I don't personally care for. I don't hate him. I'm just like I haven't seen anything interesting. I think Soul is interesting. I think that Kimmer, what's his name? Kimir is interesting for, and I think why. I think I know why. But I don't know if I'm on Team Yord yet.
So
I feel
I like you. Oh, go ahead, sir.
he reminds me of so I'm a teacher and there's this thing that happens with you go to school, you graduate college, you have to do a year of student teaching, which is where you like teach and you don't get paid while you're getting your teaching credential. And then when you start your first day, it's always like you're in button ups and like you look really nice. And then you get me who's like I'm my 8th year of teaching. And I'm like, you know, we're wearing t-shirts, right?
Yeah.
Like it was that thing of like when I realized like, oh, I don't have to wear a cardigan and cover my tattoos as teacher. You know, Yord has just made Jedi Knight, so he's in like, I have to do everything by the book perfectly. But and I think that it's an interesting character study. I don't think we've seen a character like that before that's like
Right.
freshly knighted Jedi Knight. So he's doing everything by the book. And I would like to see more of him kind of coming to terms. Like, is he going to come to terms with what the Jedi really, like, you know, the failures of the Jedi, you know, where their weak points are? But he's very much like still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? Still rose-tinted glasses. This is everything he's been training for. He's a Jedi Knight now. I think it's an interesting character,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I guess the point is, I do think that he's an interesting character. I just don't think that interesting character would have that fucking haircut. It's just, I think I don't like it, number one, and I don't think it fits the character. But anyway, or maybe it's one of those things where it's just supposed to make us feel like this is disjointed. You know what I mean? Like there's a shot in the show where all the Jedis are wearing the exact same uniform. And coming from like the prequel era, or even like after that, I don't think we've seen the Jedi wear the exact same robe. Even Anakin had like a little leather. Even during the Clone Wars, they had armor that they individualized for themselves, but the exact same uniform, the yellowish tint. Wow, that's interesting.
Are
But
they
anyway,
wait in what when they're on Kofar or when they're in the temple?
yes, both. Like, well, all the Padawans have the exact same uniform. All of the Jedi have the exact same uniform, except for the green girl. What was her name?
Vernestra.
Yes, and like a couple of the Jedi like masters in that room, just a
Yeah.
couple. But other than that, it's all the same. So I'm wondering, like, interesting, is this supposed to make our alarm bells ting of like, ooh, it's a uniform, bunch of uniformed people coming into a place and questioning people and doing
Yeah.
things that like enforcing the law, but enforcing the law badly. These people are bad detectives, you know? Like, is this all supposed to like ring our alarm bells? But I can't tell because the show isn't fully out yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's kind of like, again, if you took 30 minutes of a Star Wars movie and
Mm-hmm.
you were just like, well, and you just took it just as an island, you know, and it's like,
Right.
Mhm.
oh, does this make sense? Is this weird and disjointed? You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, I got some theories. We start off on Kofar just seeing Kelnaka um go into his little base, and we see that symbol on the wall, the same symbol that's on May's forehead. What is going on?
Hmm. He's
Something's
dead.
something's fishy.
Yeah, we'll never know because he's dead. I think it plays back into the theory that something witchy and fishy happened. Someone got messed up by the witches, and that led to the craziness that happened at the temple that burned down but didn't burn down type of thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that he is like obsessed with it, but also he's not in hiding from the, like, they say he hasn't responded to anything in 10 years, but it's not like, oh sorry, in a year, but not like he's gone rogue and we haven't seen him since the incidents.
No, he's in
Yeah.
self-imposed exile, right?
Yeah, but like they have his number and they know where he is.
Do you do you guys have any theories about what actually happened in the fire? Fire.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know about the fire part, but I think that what I had said previous episode is that I think that they tried a possession of the Jedi, and the Jedi had to kill one of the witches, and then they ended up massacring all the witches, essentially,
Mm.
because there was a possession angle involved. I wouldn't also be surprised. I'm expecting some big twist, and that's why I'm viewing this as a movie. So now I'm like, I don't know whether I can even like think about ideas and theories because this isn't paced like a TV show. This is paced like a movie. So it's one of those like, should I just like wait until it's over to like finally get the end? But I'm expecting some big twist, and not just the identity of this masked individual. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Freaky Friday witch switch.
Interesting. Okay, okay.
because it was
That's been my theory.
it was really interesting. I think I'm just so back in the Game of Thrones House of the Dragon headspace because sorry, with apologies to you, Dimithri, I know you don't watch Game of Thrones.
You don't
But
watch Game of Thrones?
It's my favorite. What are you talking about?
it's the shame.
You like it.
When Soul said, like, when we get May back on the ship with us, I'll tell you guys everything. Like, that's like the biggest like Game of Thrones trope is like that person's never gonna see you again. Like, there's a moment where like Ned Stark is like, I'll tell you everything next time I see you, and you're like, that man is dead. Like, there's no, you guys are
Dead
never
man
gonna see
walking.
each other. As soon as someone says like, I'll tell you next time I see you, you're like, they're dead. So as soon as he was like, I'll tell you once we're on the ship together, I was like, oh, they're never gonna be on the ship.
Or it's like
Or Soul's
severely
gonna get
delayed.
killed. Mhm.
Right? To the purpose where like the plot can't continue, like the plot continues without it, you know? I mean, yeah, there's little things that I'm like, again, with something like Chekhov's gun, right? Chekhov's gun is, right, like the literary device that if you show the gun, if you're showing the gun on the mantle, that it's going to be used, right? Roughly, like I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, if you show a gun on a mantle in Act 1, someone has to shoot it by Act 3.
Right. And that works in a movie or a play or whatever. But in an episode, I would assume that Chekhov's gun, what ends up happening is Chekhov's gun would be used in the same episode, or when they do last time on blah blah blah, and they show some random like scene, and it's like, oh, so that character is gonna come back in this because they showed a random character in the last. So anyway, I mean, there's a couple of things that happen in this episode, but like that they're called Umbra moths, and I wouldn't know it if I didn't have the subtitles on, which is weird that I have to learn Star Wars canon things by the subtitles and not, they don't call them Umbra moths, but it's that roly-poly thing that goes,
yeah.
Anyway, it just like came out of nowhere, and then he sliced it in half, and he's like, all right, cool, we're cool. That has to come back. There was no purpose for that.
It's upsetting that that's the most lightsaber action I got was him slicing a moth in half.
Well, we did get, and then they get like blown back.
Yeah. I think the purpose it served in the narrative, again, was an annoying one for me because I'm still annoyed by Osha, that she touched it and then messed everything up because like everyone, he was like, let's keep going. There's something growing here. We don't want to wake up. And she's like, what if I touch it? And I'm like, Osha, stop messing things up. But she touched it. And then when she was talking to Jackie, she's like, I sensed that thing in the Force, and then I woke it up, and now it's dead. And I was like, I mean, because I'm annoyed with Osha, I was like, womp womp. But that's her thing. She's reconnecting with the Force. She could sense that that was a living thing.
Yeah.
She yearned to be close to it, and then she ended up killing it. Like, that's, I think it served as like an illustration of the internal battle that she's kind of having with like her reconnecting to the Force, but she feels guilty about it.
Okay.
Like it immediately had a negative impact.
Right.
As soon as she starts to feel an inkling of being connected to the Force again.
There's just so many gaps and so many like things that I'm like, well, I trust that by the end of this show that they'll answer these things, right? I can't call it disjointed until I see it all put together, you know, and see it kind of, you know, I don't know, because each episode doesn't stand on its own. So I'm having a little problem with that. I don't know if you guys are feeling that way.
I mean, I don't think it needs to stay. For me, I don't think it needs to. Each individual episode doesn't need to stand on its own, because I don't know. It's a story.
Well, Andor is, but I don't mean stand on its own like in a syndicated.
Andor cannot stand on.
I'm
like
not saying
one
like a
episode.
syndicated rerun sort of way. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like you just tune in for one episode of I Love Lucy and you got a whole episode, right? I'm saying that like each episode of Andor thematically is they're exploring a concept, 3 different plot lines, the same theme. Like, and I get that each episode was like in a pod of 3, but each pod was thematically one thing.
Oh,
or each
I
pod.
think you
and
can
then
say this about this episode. I think you can. Can I try to?
yeah.
Hello. This is Freddie's essay where I try to defend the Acolyte from haters like Dimithri.
I'm not hating on the Acolyte. I'm just saying it seems like a movie,
I thought this episode's theme was weapons and when to use them and when we don't use them. The episode starts off with the Jedi school and they're like first position, second position, and like third position, right? Whatever the guy is saying. But also these people aren't using lightsabers like we do see in the prequels. So I think it's telling us about the mindset of the Jedi of this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jackie and Osha have like a conversation like, oh, that's the Jedi's problem. Osha views like she doesn't have the lightsaber, she doesn't have the materials to make her a Jedi. But I think Jackie believes that this is still your problem to solve, even though you don't call yourself a Jedi, much like a blue and white tentacled haired person we know called Ahsoka. You know what I mean? I think it's like poetry, it rhymes. You know what I mean? That being said, on the other half of the coin, the dark side half of the coin, we see May being frustrated that her poison did not work or did not complete the task of killing someone without a weapon. And the guy that we suspect to be a Sith Lord is like, no, you're gonna have to be more creative. It's not about specifically the tools that you use to like kill someone. It's about something more. And it's not a test. This is a final lesson, right? And those themes are kind of like clashing each other. We cut back to the Jedi troop, they go back to the planet and Osha's like views Yord as one of the real ass Jedi. You know what I mean? No business, like, or no funny business. If it comes down to it, I know that one of the reasons why I couldn't be a Jedi was my attachment to my sister. And if it comes to it, I need you to do that for me. This is what a real Jedi would do. And Yord finishing school is like, I don't know if that's the right solution. And I don't know if I should be the one to do that solution. Thinking like, should I this and also this is the same Mr. Jumpy. She's like, oh, if someone can jump and pull out the saber, it's Yord, right? And surprisingly, Yord has something interesting to say this time around, right? That theme goes on into the bug tree, right? Soul on a creature that Osha was reaching out to the Force to. We know that a theme in Star Wars is the connection to animals, how they make us feel, how we make them feel, force that penetrates us, binds us, threads us together, if you know what I mean. And Osha, being from that background, I don't think she's capable of giving up attachments or forming new attachments, which is a normal human thing to do. But that is at the detriment of the Jedi around her, which I also think is pretty interesting. We cut back to May and the not Sith Lord, but Sith Lord, you know what I mean? And he's like, oh, I like you have to like really what does he say? He says something about like he he doesn't care about or he doesn't care about the master, the Jedi, he cares about Osha and how she's learning. So like is he turning Osha into a weapon? And here's where Justin's theory corner comes in. I think that this is when May realizes who the Sith Lord actually is, or how she can summon the Sith Lord, because she says, "If I don't like complete this task, I am going to die." And he's like, "Oh, that's not necessarily true. You don't know that." She's like, "No, he's gonna come and kill me, right?" I think May realizes that the weapon that she needs is turning someone else into a weapon. I think, this is just a Justin thought, I think she lies to Kamir, being like, I'm going to go turn myself in. I can't do this. Knowing that he could be in contact with the Sith Lord or be the Sith Lord himself. So either A, he went like, hey, she's about to tell on us, or B, like, oh, wait, the jig is up, right? Or like, all right, I guess I'm going to kill Osha. Or not Osha, but May. She goes to the place where Kalnaka is, the same place the Jedi are going to be, and Kalnaka is dead. So not only is her task ruined, any possibility of this doing the task the way she wanted is also ruined. And then the Jedi come and pull out, or they don't pull out their weapons yet.
No.
Sith Lord comes and is probably going to take out some Jedi. And I think that the true lesson was turning someone else into a weapon, using your words to manipulate. And that is something a Sith would do instead of pulling out his saber because it cries deception, I guess like being undercover, all that stuff. Something that a Sith would do, something maybe the greatest Sith ever lived, the Emperor, did for decades, you know? So
Hmm.
I think this whole
So
right,
it's a I'm sorry, I cut you off when you were at the very end.
it's okay.
Did you have a last part?
So yeah,
Basically, I think that's what the theme of this episode is because they don't pull out their sabers with when they say like May, come out with your hands up or whatever. They don't do that, but they do as soon as they see another Sith Lord. So use a
so
weapon.
are you, so I'm your theory is that May is doing like a double bluff almost. She's like saying that she's going to turn herself in so that the Sith Lord will go and kill some Jedi. So she's making the Sith Lord into her weapon. Like, you're right, I killed this Jedi without a weapon because I had you do it for me. I would be delighted if that was the case. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna sound like a hater. I don't think this show is as smart as you. Because there were a couple moments in this specific episode where I was like, that's stupid. And there was a couple things with like, she sees Kelnaka dead and she turns and to an empty room says, he's here. Like, no shit. We know, like, who are you talking to? Jecki is talking to the villagers. The villagers say, hey, they said that Kelnaka went into the forest and then they never saw him again. Then we have Soul looking out into the forest and goes, he's in there. And it's like, yeah, that's what they just said. They just said he's in the forest, and you're acting like it's a revelation that you're agreeing that he's in the forest. And then there was that first moment with May that's like, he's, she's the Jedi's problem now. And it's like, do we really, like, does the show think that the audience buys that Osha's not going on this journey? Like, what, like, that's, why is that even in there? We know it's not going to happen. And I think maybe that's just me being cynical, but there was a couple moments with like Soul saying that they're still good in her, and then Osha's like, she's a murderer. And I was like, what? There was a couple things in Vernestra saying, obviously a Jedi trained her, like, why didn't you tell me the sister could have been alive? And then Soul saying, well, she fell, no one could have survived that. That's like the third time they've said the phrase, no one could have survived that, when someone survived it. I think there was a lot of like, okay, like moments. I think that if it's like a bluff on the show's part, where it's like, we have to do these kind of things so that the twist is going to be like, knock you out of the park, right? We're gonna, Kamir happens to be off screen, and then, in enough time it takes to change clothes with the giant backpack he's carrying, now the Sith Lord is there, right? If that's not the twist, because that is kind of obvious, and there's a different one, then I'll be delighted. But I don't know if it can pull it off.
I don't know. It's just a theory. That's like if
I like
that
it.
happens,
I like it.
I think that's the theme that I read into, or I gathered from it, or I received from this story. Whether or not that is true, we'll just have to wait till next week, you know. But I do think that most of the episodes can stand on their own or surround the theme, you know. And when it comes to like people falling off cliffs or having mysterious deaths that no one could survive, but somehow they survived. Star Wars is no stranger to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that all those criticisms are real and take you out of the story. You know what I mean? I think a lot. I don't think it's the first time a Star Wars story has done that. You know, remember when everyone was mad about the fire in space? I'm like, come on, dude. That's been like a thing for like years, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not as offensive to me coming into the show, or it doesn't take me out of the story as much as it did for you guys, it sounds like.
I like this episode. I think this episode really utilized, especially at the end, the creepy undertones, this like idea of a threat in the shadows, the questions, the mystery. I liked it. I thought it was too short, and I think that it doesn't necessarily prove to me. Oh, shout out to My Cow Moose 57 on Twitch. The weapon thing is kind of based. So based is good, if I'm reading this right.
That's what the kids tell me.
What's the weapon thing that we're just talking about?
The theme that Justin was talking about, how that's the whole theme of the episode.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Kind of based, man. But I'm trying to piece things together, and like I like this episode. I just don't think much happened. It was very short, but I feel like it should be. I wish it was. I don't know. I want to see what's next, and I'm a little let down by it. That being said, I'm throwing a couple things out there. We haven't seen May or Osha's forehead.
Oh, because one of them has the tattoo.
Yeah.
You can see it. You can see it through her bangs.
For sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm throwing I take that back. I take it back. I think Kimir is the Sith guy or whatever.
Yeah, he has to be. Unless it's Osha and May's white mom. That's the only other person I can see it being.
White mom.
He has a very slight build.
Yeah.
He's got Manny Jacinto's build.
But
I
he
mean,
fly-
it's a poncho. You could kind of hide a lot of curves in that. I'm just saying.
I love that he flew in. He like floats.
Yeah.
It was creepy. I love that.
Listen, I love two things. I love a shot in a TV show where I'm like, I can hear the 3D printers start to rev up. And when I saw the full shot of the mask, I was like, oh, I know people that are going to have that 3D modeled tomorrow. And I love them.
Yeah.
And the second thing is I love a creepy dude in a mask. I famously got a Kylo Ren tattoo in like after The Force Awakens. Wasn't even finished. And I was like, I love the design of his mask. I freaking love the Kylo Ren mask.
Where is it?
And-
Can I see it?
Yeah, it's right here. Oh, it's right next to Chopper.
Oh.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and there's
like,
Chopper.
say what you want about the Knights of Ren.
That
The Knights of
rules.
Ren's costumes are
Looked
pretty cool.
So
They just
I
didn't matter
wrote
much.
I wrote in my notes, Crazy Force powers looks dope. And it's like, that's all I need. Those are the only two things I need. The little like head tilt. Love a creepy head tilt.
Yeah. I
like-
think the ending of this episode
Yeah.
gave us that.
I can't wait to see him fuck up so many of those. There's 8 Jedi on this mission.
Here's the
I
thing, though.
think 4 of them don't have names.
Or
So
any
I'm
speaking
Ready to
lines
see him
whatsoever.
slice through those 4 Jedi.
I'm sorry. Did you not see Jedi Master Plo Koon?
That's not Plo Koon, right?
Yes, it is. Look it up.
Is it for sure Plo Koon?
He's on that mission, or he was in the.
Or he just looks like Plo Koon?
He's on that mission.
Or just looks like Plo Koon?
That's Plo Koon. How many motherfuckers in
Well,
Star Wars have that face?
Because I thought I saw Ki Adimundi earlier, and then in the temple scene, but then I was like, nah, it's just another guy who looks like a.
Oh,
Like-
you got your tailhead mixed up.
He doesn't have a tail head. Ki Adimundi has just a really big forehead, like a.
Yeah,
He
he's
looks
the
like
cone.
a-
He's got the cone head.
Oh,
Yeah.
Conehead.
Yeah. Is that who you're talking about? That's not who you're talking about. Plo Koon is
No.
the guy. He has like the little, like
Yes.
the bionic things, right?
Plo Koon was in this episode, or at least someone from the same species.
Right. Because I'm trying
He's
to think
there.
who's old enough to have lived 100 years before that. It's not that impossible. It's 100 years before the rise of the Empire. You
That's
know?
fucking Plo Koon.
Hey, if this is 100 years before the rise of the Empire, this is about 80 years before the before Episode 1, right?
Yeah.
Or
And so,
yeah, roughly,
Okay.
right?
Plo Koon's gonna fuck up Darth Dentist next week. Just you wait, Henry Higgins. Just you wait.
We I do want to shout out, and although look, we welcome all viewpoints when it comes to this show and whatnot. I think that there are ways to hate on a show and ways not to hate on a show, right? And like if the Acolyte isn't for you, then it isn't for you. So I do want to read out this comment because I don't feel like this comment is hateful or anything. And so on YouTube, Dario De Paula says Star Wars Acolyte is one of the shows of all time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Another pointless one and done series from Disney that just breaks more lore and doesn't deliver. Now, I think that there are arguable points in that, but I don't exactly necessarily think that's like a hateful comment. But I don't know. I think it's too early to say whether things are disjointed, whether things break lore, whether things. I don't know. How do you guys feel?
I think the breaking the lore thing is
Star Wars continues to break lore all
yeah,
the time. Empire Strikes
lore
Back
is very
breaks
flexible.
the lore.
The idea that a coven of witches calls the Force the thread is like so unrevolutionary in the world of Star Wars. Like so many different people call the Force so many different things.
Yeah.
And the Force granted, I'm not an expert in this, but the Force creating Anakin because the Force wanted to create Anakin and someone using the Force as dark magic to create a living thing, I think are two different things.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, if you don't like the show, you could not like the show. Obviously, I have a lot of criticisms of the show.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably more nitpicky, but also I'm watching it and having an interesting time. And I'm, you know, I hope they land it. Right, I hope it has a satisfying ending.
I wish it the best, right? And I think
Yeah.
that like who's cheering on its demise? Why would we do that to a like as an just sorry to just chime in, but as an X-Men fan, I never went into an X-Men movie wanting the movie to suck. I always knew that it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I wanted so bad for a good X-Men movie, and I was let down a lot of times. There were some key ones that I loved X-Men movie-wise, but I never went cheering the downfall of the X-Men movies. I kept hoping it was going to be good, and I, kept in mind that it may suck. Sorry, continue.
I lost my hat.
Sorry.
For me, it's one of those things where I have my issues with it. There's certain things where it's like, I want it to be a little bit more sophisticated, especially with the things that like the poster, when the first poster came out and it was like the blood with the saber, I was like, oh, it's going to be gritty, and it's really not. And maybe that's, criticizing a story that I wrote in my own brain, and that's, my own thing. But I think it's obvious that it's like nobody was praying for Kenobi's downfall, right? We were if you didn't like Kenobi, you were disappointed that it wasn't good because you love Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? And you love all those white guys, straight white dudes. And then this one is very diverse, right? So you're preying on its downfall because you hate that.
Yeah,
you hate and you're like, haha, this will show them we don't like lesbian witches. Like that's why you are preying on its downfall. And that's why I think, Dimithri, you don't understand why people are hoping for its downfall, because you don't hate lesbian witches.
Right.
But even the moment
I would say I'm a big fan of lesbian witches.
I am wearing my Chapel Roan Star Wars crossover that has the Tatooine suns with have to stop the world just to stop the feeling in Arabesh around the suns.
Is that a cross? Is that a
It's a little infinity going over the suns.
No, but like the Chapel Roan and this, like somebody
I don't
made
know.
the t-shirt?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's a shop called A Fan Of, and they're amazing, and they make great content.
Crossover,
but,
I never thought.
Yeah, it's like just all the bisexual Star Wars girlies are very excited, and the Jecki Osha relationship I really like. The like I'm gonna look you up the next time on Coruscant would 100% work on me. They're gonna go to a cantina and swap stories about Saul, right? Like Soul.
And swap spit.
I love that. Yeah, I love kind of the closeness of their relationship. Oh, I ship it so hard.
I don't think I wasn't getting romantic vibes from them.
There was flirting back in that first, right? There was did we point out?
Yeah, they say something. Yeah, she says something about her being like a tech neck. And like I thought droids did that work, and she gives her like droids aren't as flexible as me, and I was like, ooh.
Oh,
But I think that's a, that's a
boo.
very,
That's a
you know,
reading into
you can
maybe.
ship, it's
Who knows?
it's very Sabine and Shin, where it's like you could ship it if you want to ship it, but if you don't, you don't.
But
But
Sabine
I
and Shin
think,
are enemies at least. Like in
yeah,
this, these two could technically hook up.
right.
Also, but I mean, we also don't know the ages, right? Like what's
Yeah,
like is
everyone seems really small in that group, but I mean, she's got to be. I want to say she's 18 or 19.
yeah.
And she's an alien species, so that could be. Yeah, I don't know,
Here's
but
a
I
question.
think.
Oh, sorry. You think?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, do different alien species that mature in different rates stay Padawans for longer or less or more?
I mean, Grogu was a Padawan
Yeah.
for like what, 50 years?
Right. So yeah. So what's
I
going
think
like?
Padawan has to be like a skill level. Like, could you at 25 become a Padawan? Right? Like, is there an age cutoff for when you can be if you start learning, if you're a late bloomer, right? You could, if you're super advanced, could you become a Jedi, knight at 12?
Yeah.
Well, I feel here's my guess because like Anakin was almost aged out of being a Padawan, or he's like, oh, he's too old, or whatever the fuck shit they said. I bet if you don't learn it by a certain age, they just make you a library.
It's kind of like learning a second language, where like there's a perfect time to start doing it when your brain is real flexible. And then once you try to do it, all of us that try to take Spanish in high school and are like,
Ugh.
donde está la biblioteca? And like,
Yeah,
that's it.
it was tough for me. Dario, thank you for posting in the YouTube channel. Dario says replacing these witches with the sisters of Dathomir could have made it more interesting. There's a lot of good content there that could be spin-off. They could spin off into a Ventress Mall series, which would be cool. I think that the problem is, what I like about this show is they are trying new things in an era that we've never seen before. They're doing it in a genre that we've never seen before, because this is a different genre. This is noir to me. Like, at least the first two episodes were very noir. And, we get kind of a horror vibe at the end of this, with essentially, to me, it was the alien and Sigourney Weaver. The xenomorph and Sigourney Weaver face to face, and he lights his blade. He doesn't light his blade to kill her. He lights it ominously. I love that shot at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
And they're facing, and she's frozen with fear. Why? She's never seen this character, this person before, but
Because he's a Sith Lord.
yeah,
you wouldn't be scared.
Right. Yeah.
But I also think she's awakening to the Force, and that guy has got to have some sinister Force energy, the way he's floating behind her like Slender Man.
Yeah.
So she is already frozen and like sweating before anybody sees him.
Does she know something that we don't know?
I think she's feeling something. She's feeling a presence, because she's freaked out before we see him. So I think with her kind of reawakening, I think her cutoff, and maybe it could also be that she is in close proximity to May, right? I don't think they're going to say the term Force dyad in the show. They might, but maybe the combined power that they have with the two of them now being in such close proximity is what's kind of unblocking her, unclogging her connection to the Force, so to speak.
Yeah.
So she's feeling it. I think she's feeling it a lot more intensely. And that's why she's clammy, like she's freaked out.
Yeah.
And I think if I saw that thing floating towards me, I'd be frozen in fear.
Yeah.
The mask looks so dope, though.
I am just very interested in the next however many episodes. I think that they could stick the landing and give me a proper twist with this noir thing, with this kind of spooky, kind of creepy vibe. I just think it's too early to tell.
Yeah, I've been disappointed in the amount of lightsabers. I'm like, all I know ignited, and then I'm like, I want to see
got blown back
in action, right? Like that's my hope. I know, Dimithri, you always ask at the end the hopes for where it's going. I want to see him go 8-1. Right? I want to watch that 8v1 with the Sith Lord, and I want to see him wreck some Jedi.
Well, right now they're probably
Mhm.
on the ground. You think he's just gonna go kill a bunch on the ground and then
He
you know?
seems like the kind of guy that would wait for them to get up. I don't think he would kill them on the ground.
You think he could take 8 Jedi at once?
I don't know. I don't
If
know
you
anything
know
about.
you can't take 8 Jedi, you would kill a couple on the ground, then
Maybe.
fight the
Yeah.
ones you could.
Yeah, he did seem to sneak up on Kelnaka. Kelnaka was like in his chair. Like that was not.
Yeah.
It did not seem like that was someone that died mid fight.
Yeah. I don't know. I just have a lot of questions. Yeah, let's close up this episode by oh, well, actually real quick, Basil is his name? Basil?
The best character I've ever seen
The
in
little
Star
rodent.
Wars.
I was so afraid he was going to die.
No.
But was that pacing kind of weird? He disappears, then he like pops up like just to like kind of scream at May.
No, he's tracking. His name is
yeah.
Basil, by the way.
Basil. Okay, cool.
How dare you?
You know? But Yord doesn't seem to know that's how he does it. It seems like Yord is surprised. Where is Basil?
Nah, he has to scream in his language to get people's attention.
Yeah.
It's like having a little beagle. You know, they follow their nose.
Right, but you follow the beagle, right?
They
why
kind
did-
of go on their own.
Sometimes I go too fast.
Why
But here's the thing, because their tails, they always have a white tip, you know, and so when they're sniffing around, you can see the little white tip in the tall grass, you know, going around. That's how you follow beagles. But
Okay.
I only know this because I have a beagle. He's the cutest thing ever. Anyway, justice for Basil. He's the best.
He's not dead.
Either make Jedi Master Basil, Sith. Sith
Oh, he's
Lord
the Sith.
Basil. Basil is the Sith
Darth
Lord.
Basil.
Darth Basil.
Basil.
Come on, it writes itself. Come on.
I was also very freaked out. I really hope that little Muppet doesn't die. I hope he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Famously, in this week episode of House of the Dragon this week, there was a horrifying thing that happened, but the worst thing that happened was that somebody kicked a dog, and the internet was like, "How dare you kick a dog?" So I was like, "Yeah, leave that cute little." I love a cute little guy. I love a droid. I love a cute little guy. I like a sinister, creepy in a mask. Those are the holy trinity of Star Wars for me. That's what I like.
Do you like Babu Freak?
I love Babu
Nah,
Frick.
Babu Freak sucks.
I love Babu Frick. I have the plushie of Babu Frick that makes the noise when you squeeze it.
Are there shirts that's like "Get Your Freak On"? There has to be a shirt that's like.
Oh,
"Get Your
yeah.
Freak On."
Hey, what does he say?
I don't know what
Could
he says.
you
Hey,
imagine?
hey.
No. Could you imagine the Sith Lord?
Yeah, he says it like that.
No, could you imagine the Sith Lord after killing all those Jedi slowly removes his helmet?
Babu Freak.
Hey!
That's David.
Babu Freak.
Is it Babu Frick or Babu Freak?
Babu Frick is a freak. That's why I call him Freak.
I know that his species has a name, but I just call them Babu Fricks. When I saw them in The Mandalorian, I was like, "Oh, the Babu Fricks."
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. Closing thoughts. Closing thoughts on this episode.
Closing thoughts. Protect Basil at all costs.
Yeah.
I hope he lives. I hope he's great. I think that the one ding that I have against this show is I would hate that if it's a not real villain origin story. You know how like Maleficent was? Like she's not really the villain. Nah. Let them be villainous. Let them do some heinous acts. Let May fuck shit up. And we'll be okay. We'll be there to eat up every second of it. But closing thoughts, I think this episode was really good. I think the cliffhanger ending was unnecessary, but that's a whole nother thing. That was a bit frustrating, but so far so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also agree. Didn't love the cliffhanger. Because it's like we if we watch this far, I'm gonna come back for episode 5. Like, you could get a little bit into the fight, and but I think that was a great entrance for that character. The ease with which he threw all those guys on the ground was really good. I'm excited to see what that character does. But I do want May to stay bad. I think if we've got 16 years of her serving a Sith master as the apprentice, and it's called the Acolyte, if she doesn't end up being it's one of those things where, like, if she decides that her love for her sister is, I like it more of, I like the idea of her fibbing about that, bluffing about that, to bring him into facing off for the Jedi. I like that if that's the case, as opposed to oh, my sister's alive after all these years. Like, I am so sorry that I was evil. I changed my mind. I would like to see her remain a baddie as well.
Sorry, guys.
I mean, every single Sith Lord we've seen, not Sith Lord, except the Emperor, has gone good at the end, or like had a change of heart or something.
And Soul said the thing. He said they're still good in her. Right? He said the thing.
Yeah, that would be slightly disappointing, but.
Hey. And then Osha comes back with, she's a murderer. Okay.
Yeah, I need more episodes to really judge this show. I'll be here watching these, do the after shows. I forgot Kenobi even existed. I just realized that. Talk about a letdown of a show. It's I'm gonna be honest, I liked Book of Boba Fett better than Kenobi.
Get though. You know what? Get out.
Book of Boba Fett had higher highs.
No, it didn't. The
whole
best parts about that show are episodes where he doesn't even show up. Are you kidding me? That show was ridiculous.
It was the Sand People, that, like, episode 2 or 3 or whatever episode.
The Tuskens. Sand People is a derogatory term about
yeah, sorry, we don't call them that. Sorry.
And I agree that the Tuskens, I thought the Tuskens was the best part, and that's actually a point I was going to say last week, is the flashback to the witches ending with them getting killed off when we haven't learned that much about them very much reminded me about how my favorite part of Book of Boba Fett was learning the customs of the Tuskens, and then they all get killed off. And
they all get killed off. If you want to talk about, like, they don't care about fucking Star Wars, it's fucking Boba Fett. Are you kidding me? You Acolyte's the problem? You're going to bring back the most notorious bounty hunter in Star Wars history, Cad Bane, besides Boba Fett, and he dies? You're telling me Cad Bane had a whole relationship with Cad Bane, and we never get to see any of that in the flashback? Instead, we waste time on Tuskens, which get murdered.
I like the Tusken angle.
I just like that it
mad at Boba Fett.
I like that it opens up with the from Parks and Rec, the Patton Oswalt monologue from Parks and Rec.
The Sarlacc.
That they made it in the exact same way. But my problem with Book of Boba Fett is they didn't trust it enough to stand on its own. So they were like, let's just do a little Mandalorian season 2.5 interlude, which confused my parents who only watched The Mandalorian and were like, wait a minute, he's back with his baby. And I was like, oh, yeah, sorry, you have to watch these 2 episodes of a show you don't care about to find out when he gets back with his child. Yeah. So I didn't love that. I famously like Kenobi because my daughter cosplayed young Leia.
She was the best part.
I love Princess Leia. I love Princess Leia so much. I loved little Leia. I loved when all of my friends saw that at Star Wars Celebration, and they all texted me that I should get my sewing machine ready. And I was like, what are we talking about? And then as soon as I saw it, I was like, yep. Okay.
I think generally speaking, I think themes are underrated. Like, they should be, like, we don't need a big bad villain. We can have a thematic villain, or like a bunch of villains that serve the same purpose. We don't have to have all the Star Wars content be in the same year, but they can kind of, like, show us the downfall of the Jedi through different eras, that sort of thing. So
Yeah, I think the conflict within the human heart is a thing that is often like the most compelling thing to write about, but instead it's just like lightsabers. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I also
Yeah.
like lightsabers.
I like lightsabers
but
too.
but a more sophisticated like internal story, I think, which is why I liked Andor so much, is a thing that I really like. And I feel like the problem that I have with the Acolyte so far is not, oh, it's breaking lore or any of that stuff. Cause I'm famously not a lore person. I love Star Wars. I have Star Wars tattoos, but I couldn't do Star Wars trivia, like that kind of thing. I'm not like deep in the lore.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like it is like skating on the surface of something that I think can be really good, and I want them to kind of dive in. I feel like we're treading water, and I'm like, dive, go into it. And maybe they needed to tread water to get to the point where they can dive, and the next 3 episodes are going to be super intense and great, and the payoff's going to be worth it. And I will be delighted if that's the case.
Yeah, it'd be great. I want to thank you both so much for coming on this episode and talking about episode 4 of The Acolyte. Before we get going, Sarah, where can people find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Ms_Marauder. We are frantically finishing up Anime Expo cosplays. So you can watch the Instagram for that and watch TikTok for some chaotic videos of my tiny cosplayer at Anime Expo. And then after that, we will be documenting our tiny Paul Atreides cosplay. My daughter's going to be little Paul Atreides at San Diego Comic-Con, and I will be a sandworm. And I'm also putting together I think, if I have to say this, then I have to do it. But I'm going to Mosh Isley, and I think I'm putting together like a punk Hera look for Mosh Isley. So
all right, very nice, very nice. I'm very much looking forward to your San Diego Comic Con stuff. So
very excited.
Justin, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
You can find me wherever toys are sold, on TikTok, Twitter, and on Instagram at Freddy's Roommate. If you care about Star Wars and stuff, you'll see me talking about it all the time. When does this episode come out? When does this air? Oh, I think the Lord of the Rings table read is official. So if you want to find out more information about that, follow me on the socials. And yeah, I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con. I don't know what I'm gonna be wearing. I could be anybody. I could be a Jedi. I could be Spider-Man. I could be Dimithri.
Who knows?
Anyway, that's it. I could be Dimithri.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna make all of you guys wear my sandworm cosplay. I'll be like, I'm gonna take a break. You guys put this on, and I'm just gonna place the sandworm on top of you, and you can walk around with my child.
It's gonna be fun.
Okay, you know. For anyone who wants to follow me personally, you can find me at This Is Dimithri on social media. But if you're looking to follow The Keeg just in general, The Keeg, you can find us on TikTok and Instagram at The Keeg Show, YouTube.com/The Keeg Show, Twitch.tv/The Keeg Show. You can check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, SoundCloud. We are also on Facebook, Threads, Twitter at The Keeg Show /The Keeg Show, wherever. Like, comment, follow, subscribe. Let us know you're out there. Write a review if you need to. It's always nice to hear what you guys think and know that you guys are out there digesting what we got. This is the Acolyte Tonight, where we talk about the Acolyte after every single episode. We also got Comic Talk every Thursday. We got the Keeg Talks most weekends, and we got State of X, which is our X-Men podcast that we do every month to keep people caught up with everything X-Men related. But yes, this is the Acolyte for episode 4. Next week will be episode 5. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and co-host
Sara.
And this has been the Acolyte Tonight for episode 4 of the Acolyte. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
go super fast. Gotta beat the boss and get the loot, cause it's the king.